Hello. Welcome to Jarviskjir Here Be Heroes, where we definitely remember what happened last week and didn't nearly forget until just now. Hey, how you doing, everyone? How's my favorite group of people?
I don't know, chat. How are you?
Good
Dick
answer.
self-roast.
Well done.
Dang it.
Smart.
Hey, at least we're not being eaten.
Yeah. You know, the bright side of life.
I mean, only two of us are people, really.
It is
We do
fun
have two
having 3 games happening at the same time in the world and just trying to, like, oh, who's in danger, what terrible things are happening.
Yeah.
It's always fun. Anyway, we're here to play D&D. That's why we're here. And last week, you got teleported back to Slate Cove because the strange sand-powered monks stole the Gatestone of Bastillion. It snatched it away. It ended up creating an elemental that you had to fight that Aelor cut in like a whole bunch of crazy paladin crits. And ended up getting teleported back to Slate Cove because that is where they're going next. You found a map. They are coming here. And that's basically where we ended the session off with you...
Inches
Going.
away from knocking on the Baroness's door.
Baroness's door.
By inches, I mean like half a centimeter.
It's like everything went slow-mo.
Measurement is difficult.
It's where that first knock goes to credits. Like,
Oh, that's even
Yeah,
better.
It's just like a one loud knock.
That's
fade
like
to
a House of Cards. The season's a House of Cards we can't watch back in good conscience House of Cards.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I was gonna
I
go
can't
Law
do
and
it.
Order
It just feels weird.
like also, you know. But yeah, I can't deal with it.
I'm not
Speaking
even
of
up
feeling
to
weird,
date, so I can't watch
Baroness
the new
and
seasons. I
Wilfred.
don't want to go back and watch the old ones. Anyway,
That aside,
this will be interesting.
Good way to start the show, really. You know.
yeah.
you know what you're getting into, chat.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
And you knock on the Baroness's door. The door to the Baroness's mansion. Like I said, it's much cleared up from all the drama that happened before. That happened like months ago at this point. So, when you knock at the Baroness's door, it is a one of the royal guards who comes to open it. Like I described before, they are... this town doesn't really have town guard, but they very much have people who protect other people, and the Baroness's personal guard, you know, they're wearing their Viking-y style chainmail with these purple tabards and things, and they just kind of look at a lot of you, and they're like, Grey Fists,
You know it.
what do you need?
We're here to see the Baroness.
Don't think the Baroness is expecting you.
Well, she's not expecting a lot, and we need to speak with her as soon as possible.
We have news.
And it's
It's-
not good news.
It's bad news. Yeah.
You can see him contemplate, because you know the Baroness. You know she's not someone that you should really waste the time of. So you can see him contemplating not whether you're legitimate, whether it's worth the chance of him getting in trouble
It's
for just
news
letting
that if
you
you
in.
didn't tell her and she finds out later, it's going to be real bad for you.
Exactly. He kind of like rubs at his, you know, he's got a nice silver beard and nods. Goes, all right, I'll lead you in, but I can't say she'll be happy to see you.
Is she ever happy to see anyone?
No.
Well.
And
We're
will lead
hoping-
you into the Baroness's manor, far further than you ever gone. When you went to the party, the ball, the whatever, that was in sort of a wing of this manor that was designed for festivities, right? That's very much how this culture, you know, if you've got a big enough building, you'll do that. Tesh, were you asking a question to the class? Or were you stroking your hair?
No. There was a bit of hair that was just flapping
I
around.
thought for a second that you were like, DM,
No.
DM please, because that's not
I had
even a
to put
bad
the hair away.
idea.
Is what I had to do.
But now, last time you were here talking to it, you never even left like this front room, which is wood paneling and stairs all the way up. But now you're actually getting led up the stairs that creak under your feet to a higher layer inside the manor. He walks you up to one of the doors, which he will knock on, and then kind of peek his head in, and you hear him sort of mumbling behind the door. And then we'll open it up for you guys to step in. This is very much a drawing room. There's a room with a nice warm hearth and a table where you've been in like elvish fine dining and fine establishments for a while, and nothing compares to that sort of design. Mm-hmm. But the things here are still much prettier than most of Slate Cove. There's a little bit more effort into the craftsmanship here, and she is her sort of armored jacket is like behind the chair she's sitting on, like draped over it, and she is looking at some paperwork and stuff while she has like a mug of ale beside her. It's actually a very nice mug where like it's metal and glass, and she does not look happy to see you. She has a case of it might be resting bitching face, it might be conscious bitch face, but you can tell she's like quite hurriedly put on the like iron circlet of her crown and kind of crosses her arms and just kind of looks at you in the doorway, which I imagine is Tobias and Barut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
we have some news for you. It's not good news. Tobias, why don't you, because I'm still a little bit foggy on exactly what this is. I know it's monks with shaved heads.
I'm just gonna walk in and like take a seat nearby and just like swing one leg up.
I was gonna ask if you were gonna do that, and she very much flinches.
Burrowit is like head in hands, just oh god.
But at the same time, like this isn't like Tobias trying to disrespect her. She's a Northman. Like I don't need
yes,
to pomp
exactly.
and circumstance.
No,
like,
they're kind of weird in this one particular area.
Yeah, like I don't.
She's
care.
a Northerner who's very northern, but also is trying to be a little more southern in like the way they rule. You know.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit more, you know, attempt to be classy,
Proper.
I guess.
Yeah, but it's all good.
But she's also drinking beer right now.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
like.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just gonna look at her and be like, look, and I'll pull out the ring that we have, like the armlet thing, the map.
Yeah.
And I'll just kind of toss that on the table to her and be like, this is a map. We found this on some very dangerous people in Bastilian. They stole some kind of gate stone from them. It's a powerful magical artifact. It doesn't matter. The point is, these people who are dangerous foreigners from the east are possibly coming to our town, and they are going to wreak havoc, and they're looking for another one of these stones that we think might be somewhere in the ring or underneath Slate Cove. And whether or not it actually is doesn't matter. They think it is, and they're coming here.
This is one of those things you don't even need to roll persuasion or anything, because you actually have a fine reputation with her. She has no real reason not to believe you, especially, you know, the seriousness of this. But of course, she's looking at this like stone map, and she kind of throws it down on the table with disinterest or just no understanding. Yeah. And she crosses her arms like very much tighter to her chest and is like, "What can you tell me about them then? These foreigners from the east? Tieflings?
They're from my homeland. They're from South Stella.
So like across the sea. And you know what people say about those that come from across the sea.
Yes, yes, we're cursed. These are not just cursed, though. They are genuinely looking to harm people. They're looking to bring a new age and a world end.
But what's most important is they wield fairly powerful magic. They were able to teleport, and I'll gesture to these guys, these fine folks, hundreds of feet in the air, and it's a miracle that they were able to even survive such an ordeal.
Burwood's gonna put his hand on Virik's shoulder and like clasp it a little bit, and just kind of
Rick
nod.
takes a wheezing breath.
Yeah.
But yeah, they possess powers that we have not seen in these parts, but rest assured, they can still be felled by traditional means. We have fought several of them. They practice monkish arts. They punch people with their hands. It's quite stupid.
Yeah, she has the same like what punching hands.
The magic they invoke causes creatures to appear and summon in front of us without their intention.
Mhm.
That alone is dangerous.
So
They did.
crazy foreigners from the east who punch people and monsters.
They're bald and have tattoos on their head too.
And they're
Reckless
bald.
havoc. Yeah, they're not. I mean, they're really not dressed for this kind of weather, if we're being honest. I mean, Zalstel is a much warmer place, but the issue is that they're actually quite competent. It's not just that they are ridiculous, but they are ridiculous in a way that is dangerous.
I mean, if this was just a bunch of bald freaks running around in flowing gowns, we wouldn't be too worried about it. But it's the fact that they possess this magic and they very clearly have intent to come to our home and wreak havoc on the people who live here. So we're going to investigate to see if we can find this thing they're after. The reason we are bringing this information to you is so that you can rally whoever you can rally and just be prepared in case they arrive in town. Because if they do, there will be bloodshed, and the less of that blood that belongs to our people, the better.
She her hand rests on the sort of sapphire necklace that she wears, and she nods quite deeply in thought. I understand. In which case you should get and go finding this magical stone, or whatever it is.
That's the plan. I assume you are capable of taking care of things from here.
She
And I'll
stands
just gotta
up.
Stand up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She stands up, much shorter than you, as always, and like puts on her coat that makes her look slightly bigger than she is, but she's a very small woman. And it's like, I can handle it. I can defend this town from bald magical freaks. I'm sure.
We wouldn't have brought it to you if we didn't think you could. And I'll just turn to leave, give her a wave. Best of luck.
She will leave kind of a little bit after you clearly going to talk to some of her people, but it doesn't stop you while you go to leave. So now the question is, where and how are you going to try and look for what you're
One last thing we're going to do real quick. And Virik is going to go to Brute on this one. You know those manifestos? The manifesto Smoke had about the people, the lady with the guy with the shaved head, the monks. I know them in town.
Okay. I'm gonna hand them to you because I assume I have them on my
Yeah,
pack. So they were
it's
either in the party
writing.
pool or
Yeah,
they were in-
it's writing. It's a notebook.
It's
of
probably
course.
with me.
I assumed
yeah.
you had it, yeah.
Yeah, and I would just hand it to you, and I'd say, okay. Hey,
Okay.
Do you want me to come with you to?
Up to you, but I can move fast. I can meet you guys where you guys
Go
are.
fast. It's better if you go fast, anyways. And I shouldn't be wandering off from the group anymore.
Neither should he, but
Okay.
He's fast enough. Safer than me going off.
Tell me where you
Long
guys are going, and I'll meet you there.
Fortunately, there are no hordes for you to wander into here, at least as far as I know. If it turns out one of the townsfolk is a dragon, just leave them be.
Will do.
We've gotten this far without a dragon-related accident. We don't need anything to happen today.
14 weeks without any dragon-related
we
accidents.
don't need a sign.
So, I'll just have one on the wall here eventually. It'll just say, X
I mean,
number
it's
of
been
weeks.
less than a day since a dragon-related incident for your
that
party.
would be an upsetting thing to find in a dungeon. Just a sign that says like it's been 400 some odd days since a dragon-related accident.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. So as far as actually finding like an entrance into this ring that we don't already know of, are there any like?
Can I look at the map?
Well, yeah, definitely.
The map, it gives no. The map is very.
No. Like the map of Slate.
Like
Oh,
just
absolutely, yeah.
Like I
But
assume what we do
This
is go
kind of
back-
area, the map is not
Rough.
accurate enough for anything. In
More
other
what I'm
places where they
wanting to
keep
look
better
at it-
records, it would be up to date. But this is like not even slightly.
More what I'm looking at is geographical structures. So basically, if there are mountain areas, if there are areas that have caves built into the mountains, basically like things like that we would know
It
about,
is
or that would have been
a-
marked specifically with the gray
Actually,
fist.
you know what? You can give me a intelligence check or a nature check
Intelligence.
if you have
Or-
nature
Right.
prof.
Because it wouldn't necessarily have to be up to date. Older might even be better because someone goes, we're looking for this thing
Yeah,
for
it's
a long
less
time.
the age of the maps. It's more that Slate Cove has been built in a very haphazard way without any kind of planning, whereas other maps would be based off, the planning of the city.
So
It's just that the roads aren't even accurate on any map you'd have of this to visit, but that's less.
Like I just kind of imagine we're going back to the Grey Fist's like keep and just going into the map area and just like
yeah.
looking.
And the
at
thing
this.
is, like,
Yeah.
while we're walking there, I'm essentially going to be saying just a prayer under my breath for essentially like we're on a hunt that needs help here, and I need guidance in the ways of this terrain specifically, and that gives me proficiency in a skill or tool for 10 minutes, and
Nature.
I'm specifically doing nature here.
And as someone who's knowledgeable about this area and like the kind of forest and stuff, would I be able to help him?
You can give me your own nature check.
Okay. I'm not proficient in that, but that's fine.
You probably have higher than me, regardless.
No.
No, never mind. I lied.
It's one of those things where you immediately, Tobias, you start talking about the forest to the sort of east side of town where you grew up, because that's what you know, and you're like, well, I know this weird hole. There's like. It's like weird things like that, and it's a magical world. There are weird things in forests, right? That's kind of what you start going off. But when you start looking at the maps and the various maps that you have here, including some old Elvish maps of the north in general, even before Slate Cove was built, this ring is still here. The interesting thing about the ring, when you look at it on a map, is it has breaks, because people come in and out of the town. Now, when you first maybe looked at a map, you would have assumed that this is a natural rock formation that the humans have dug away at to make entrances and exits to the town. But now thinking about it more, you know there's something under the ring, there's no way that's true, so there are breaks in the ring. There are two of them. There is one right by your local tavern. Where your local tavern is, the town kind of overflows out of the ring a little bit.
Right.
And there's a break in the ring there that is essentially, it once was one of the entrance exits of the town, with the palisades and stuff, remember when I described your local. And that would be, obviously looking where there's breaks in the ring would be just easy, you're trying to find a way in. And then the other one would be much more towards Thunderall Way, which doesn't have that kind of overflow of town, but has some stables and stuff, and that still has a wooden gate there, because that is where more people are coming from, so they didn't expand out that way,
Do we have literature on the Ring of Haldoon in the Grey Fists area?
Kindlane has writings on it. It's more, Kindlane would give you her notes, and would even be here planning with it, where, but
And
that's
I'm
all
gonna
stuff
be
you've
doing-
already been told, right?
It's more just refreshing my
Yes,
memory
exactly,
for
which
the sake
is
of...
what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
Is the running theory that Kindlay and other Grey Fists had is that it was a dwarven ruin. Now it is a dwarven ruin, but the dwarves didn't build it; they built inside it, and at least one part. You were only in a very small part, so you don't really know. But that's basically their theory, that it's an old dwarven ruin. They never really worked out what it's for. It's just a weird. It's a weird hodgepodge. Now thinking back on it more, it probably was just a safe place for dwarves to stay inside, because that sort of building is very close to where the Baroness's Manor is, and the Baroness's Manor is Dwarven Castle. Other than that, there's not very much more writing about it, other than some theories that it was caused by a meteor crashing, but then there's like. That's like, other people are like, well, there's no way, there's no such thing as meteor, like stuff like that. There's a whole bunch of theories that you don't really need to go into as much. There's a lot of people trying to work out why this feature exists in the world, and really the only thing that you know for sure certain is that dwarves were involved after the fact, right?
Okay.
But seemingly on the old elven maps, those breaks were always there, those 2 breaks. And the breaks, if you imagine it, if you cut it into thirds, 1/3 has the break on either side, you know,
right.
Whereas the meat of the ring is all on the west side.
Okay. The other thing that we should look into is speak to Fireflies and see what he found out about that egg that we brought back to him in episode 1.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Because, you know, maybe that could give us some more insight on the ring itself.
The other thing I was going to ask as well, which might possibly give us some insight, because we know that in these ruins are like earthen elemental creatures, at least it seems that way from what we've encountered. Are there any like old folk tales of people maybe spotting some of these creatures, even if they're like things that happened
It's
like
Greyfist
years ago?
Records, because it's a challenge, and there's usually creatures in there. More often than not, they are like goblins, things like that. But now that you're looking back at it with the insight of hindsight, there is a lot of elemental creatures that are being found in the thing. Not just earth elemental. There's actually a record of one group going in there and fighting a fire elemental, and like a lot of that group did not make it back in the whole pieces, because that is a big thing for new people to fight. You know, there's a lot of elemental stuff in the Ring of Haldoon section in when it goes back. You know,
is there anything talking about specifically incidents that may have occurred regarding elementals near those 2 breaks that we know of, or anywhere else that might
not
seem
in the town proper, only ever inside the ring? There is record when you go through it, and you're going through like really old records that Kindley only keeps because she's similar to Barut and just keeps really old paperwork for no reason, where when this town was being built, like the humans were building this town, there was records of these creatures coming out of this break in the ring, and they sealed it away.
It is clearly not for no reason. Look at the usefulness now.
I know. It's just it's the easiest way to describe it. But yeah, before the area you always have gone in with that semi-secret door was sealed, stuff was coming out. And based on their description, they would be mephits, you know, low-level elementals.
right. The other thing too that we have to consider, which may or may not matter at all, but that part of the ring we went into on our first baby quest, there's totally a giant gap in there that just goes to who knows where. Just a pit straight down.
That's true. It's true. In the part you know how to get into, there is a pit.
Which presumably goes deeper.
Well, it definitely goes deeper.
It goes deeper because you dropped the torch down and it never landed.
Yeah, in the ring. So who knows if that just goes like even deeper than the ring itself into like the friggin' Underdark or something.
That's a real good
or
memory there.
If that actually goes into part of the ring, that would be helpful. Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, so basically, failsafe, right? I mean, if we go and we look for something, can't find something, we go back to the area that we have knowledge of and we try and delve. But like realistically, like we're gonna be belaying with ropes and being very, very careful and having to do like rotating rope method.
We're gonna be rappelling down.
Well, the thing is,
just throw Virik down. He's got monk landing. He survived terminal velocity once. He'll do it again. Well,
well,
just healing word him. Just be like, You doing okay down there, buddy? Give him a D4, he'll be fine.
Yeah, no problem. Just the classic old D4.
Unless he falls into the core of the earth.
If he's falling for 10 minutes, you'll get prayer of healing. So fine.
If he's falling for 10 minutes, he's got bigger problems.
Yeah.
Yeah. 10 minutes at terminal velocity is so far. So funny.
He starts reading his how to speak giant.
There's a whole episode of Gravity Falls based on that, I think, where they're just falling the whole time.
Okay.
So you're going to go to one of the breaks. So there's 2 breaks in the ring first. The north one near your local and the south one near the main gate of this town.
There are 2 things I want to do first. 1, ask Fireflies about the egg.
Yes.
Did he learn anything?
Decide which one we're going to first so I can leave.
Yes, when you do ask Fireflies about that.
Pop one.
It takes a unfrustratingly long time to get Fireflies to realize what you're asking about.
Yes.
Not to Barut, of course, because he's a very lovely guy, and when you're dealing with someone who has magically induced dementia, you need to be very polite. But when he does eventually realize, he will actually show you parts of his notebook where he's gone into the details of the egg, and that the egg is essentially was filled with an earth elemental primordial soup that was going to form into a sand newt. In theory, he never let it hatch.
Right.
But it was basically the inside was the magic that gives earth elementals life, right? His kind of theory, and there's other books and stuff that corroborate this to some degrees. The thing is, when it gets to magic theories, there's so many ideas, and because it's they're all right in some degree. But it is like earth elementals are fueled by something, but the sand newts very much were made of that stuff.
Okay. While we're looking at his notebook, I'm actually going to ask as well, would it be all right if I quickly read this?
Of course. I don't see why not.
I'm going to hold it and cast lore keeping. And just
his notes kind of gives you a little bit of lore keeping magical drunkenness, because it's so disorganized.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where there are pages from other books stapled in.
Yeah.
There are pages that have been removed. There are fold outs.
Yeah.
It is a very haphazard notebook thing that is very old. There are notes on all sorts of things. Actually, very interestingly enough, the first few pages, first few chapters are him as an adventurer with Kindle, where he would be very similar to Barut, the healer of the party, and he could stop people from death, and was very all the way up to, and then it stops with we're going into what might be a mind flayer hive, and then that whole thing stops and never comes back, and then it goes into and even in that, similar to Barut, there's theories about things that he's found and stuff, and even theories about the Ring of Haldoon. But a lot less so, because back then they weren't based here. The Grey Fists were based in Dragonborn. So there's a lot of things about how the Dragonborn are pretentious, right? A lot about that. After that, they deal with. It is all about herbalism. A lot about these white plants from Lich Vale and the necromancy inside of them, stuff like that. Just a whole bunch of hodgepodge of notes on alchemy, mostly in the herbalism kind of alchemy.
Okay, good to know. Interesting, and I'll kind of.
Yeah, it's definitely like a sway. Like
okay, and put it back down and say, yeah, just thank you for sharing that with me, Fireflies. There's incredible amounts of knowledge in there. I'm just like going to be a little bit staggered. Just thank you. And then ask him. You guys already got potions from him last week. Never mind.
Yes.
I watched. I remember.
His potion ability giving cooldown. It's on cooldown.
Yeah. No, I was gonna ask if they had, but I remembered.
Mm-hmm.
But now the other thing to do is, while we're going towards that one break, is go speak to Corpse Flower.
Which break? So you're going to the one up north with
Yes.
Corpse Flower. So it's one of those things. If you go to explore that, one of you can just go and grab Corpse Flower at a local. Who would do that? Or would you all go and see him?
I'm not there, so other way. I
Yeah,
would've-
you're doing another thing. In fact,
I'll
you
do
guys
it.
decide how you want to deal with that. We're gonna star wipe to Virik, who's going off to Gapnov, who is still researching the runes that appeared in the center of town. Now knowing what they are, and very interested. You've never seen this guy so excited about anything in his life, which is kind of cute because Gapnov is a grumpy old gnome. And now he's, like, very excited and, like, writing these things down very quickly. And he will actually, like, wave to you when you come up and is like, Very, telling me this about the teleportation circle. This is amazing. This kind of magic is mostly theoretical.
Well, I'm glad I could help. There's one last thing I'd ask of you, though. We have these papers that are in Gnomish, and we need to know something about 2 individuals that visited this person. We don't know how easy it's going to be found. I'll hand it over. I'm looking for a human and an elf, both bald. One of them is named Shreen.
He'll find that. It's very near the end of the ledger, and he'll be like, "This is the things he talks about in this." Yeah.
Just not a good person who had these.
These people are in there. They saw this man. He said that they were looking for a stone and a way into a ring.
Yes, that. Does it say what he told them?
I said not really, unfortunately. Don't know what you want. It just says that they came here. He said that they're weirdos, but that they might be useful.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you. That ring, I think it's the ring.
It also, clearly he's trying to work out some of the coding, because even though this is in Gnomish, it's also by Gnomish crime lord, right? So he's taking time to try and work out what these things mean. It's partially encoded. They might have been trying to hire mercenaries.
Okay. That's good to know, and worrying. Thank you. If you could hang on to those, and just if you find out anything else about them, hopefully we won't need it, but we might. Thank you. And I'm going to sprint off.
Cool.
Obviously in a rush, by the way. I'm not going to hide that from anyone.
Tobias, give me a perception check. Cool.
Tobias is having an off day.
You go and get Corpse Flower and bring him back to the party. He's still got a mug on him when he comes to meet you. The area you're at is one of these places you've been to many times because it's on the way to your local tavern. You've stumbled back this way many times, but you never really thought about it because it's kind of a natural gate in the stone of the ring, whereas the Ring of Haldun is kind of under this natural-seeming rock. There's a break in the gate where there's some sort of wooden palisades where clearly there was a wall and something completely taken apart. But there's a little bit away from all the rest of the buildings. Some people use it to store things that are coming in and out from that way. It's very relaxed because this is kind of how Slate Cove is. And he'll literally walk up to you guys with his mug in hand and just be like, "So you're looking for a magic door?"
Like that.
Yes and no. Magic door, maybe not. Secret door, more likely. The other thing is that there are some people coming to the town that may be dangerous. The Baroness is already gathering troops, etc. But we also trust you very much with protecting the town and know that you would want to at least be informed ahead of time that there could be danger coming.
We should definitely give him the lowdown of basically.
You just start
Everything.
explaining
Yeah, what we explained.
monks,
earlier.
magical, basically the same thing you already did.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
one of it's in the process of you explaining this. He sits down on like one of these boxes in the area, puts down the mug, and just starts sharpening his sword.
Yeah. Yep. Good. Okay. He's getting prepared. That's pretty much the main thing. The other thing was if
And
he
you
knows...
you
listen to
notice
your-
Barut being just a keen-eyed and thoughtful person, but he sharpens his sword with the whetstone in the wrong part of his hand. And he keeps cutting himself with the blade.
He's doing that on purpose. Sneaky motherfucker. Not even gonna bring it up.
No, exactly. That's kind of what I imagined. It's just that Barut would notice that of all. Of them.
Yeah.
And then when you sort of finish doing all of this, he'll get up and he'll be like, "I'm gonna go patrol the edge of town. I will." He kind of like pulls out a horn from his bag, like, "I'll give this a blow if anything happens."
Thank you.
He nods and he will march off into the.
No, come back. Damn it.
So now, what are you?
I'm
how
looking
are you
for a
doing,
door.
Investigation checks,
Or some
please.
kind of opening.
Yeah,
Everyone
basically
give me investigation.
anything.
Yeah, anything, right?
Yeah. Oh, just such a bad roll.
Hey.
There we go.
There we go.
Paladin
Actually-
investigates better. Zurich, have you done one?
Oh, I didn't know I was back yet.
You are, yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
literally, like,
okay.
you would get there, like, when Corpse Fire was leaving.
Okay. Then yeah, I'll do one that will also explain one thing that I would have done on the way back.
Mm-hmm.
Failed. I would have given my entire pouch of silver, which is 13, to someone to go tell the Baroness that they may have hired mercenaries. They may not just be the monks.
Cool.
And say it was from the Greyfists. So I would have done that along the way. And that's why I'm glad you guys didn't give him descriptions, so he's just looking for people. Cool as
He's
hell.
just looking for anything, you know?
Otherwise, I would have had to run after him and tell him that.
Yeah.
He's on high alert.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Look,
But
there
I
are a
found-
few people that we know can handle themselves in town.
Yeah.
The Grave.
like-
You're a it's a town
Fair.
of Vikings. Most
Yeah.
people can handle themselves, but what's coming is beyond them. You know?
Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah,
Yeah.
Corpse
And, like-
Flower is magical.
I'm
He's a
assuming
tiefling
he's
with
gonna tell like
powers.
the people in that small part of town, like
Yeah.
you know, get your axes sharpened and
Exactly.
Well, like he's
What
probably gonna go back to the pub and start sharpening his blade some more, and they're gonna be like, "Fuck, guess we better
Yeah,
sharpen
exactly,
our shit."
right.
yeah.
They know that he's the
Yeah.
protector of this part of town, the part that usually is protected.
He's literally like the sheriff. Like,
Yeah.
When you guys start
Right.
looking around, you basically have two walls of the ring to start poking around at. You start climbing, you start looking for magical doors. There's not very much that you find. You climb all the way up to the top, you look around up at the top, it's pretty. You don't see any kind of magical doors or anything like that. It's Elnor always can feel the direction of the winds, the ways the north wind blows, and eventually, but after quite a while of looking, around half an hour, it's one of those things where as a Viking you're getting annoyed by how long you're taking. You feel the airflow from inside the ring, and you remember when you're being in there, it has its own sort of airflow separate of the rest of the world, right? You feel that. And eventually you follow to just where there's chunks of these rock. And you start trying to push them out the way, but you're going to give me athletics checks, or if you have any sort of abilities that will help with such a thing.
I was actually going to say, if I see you starting to do stuff, I am actually going to come over there and do a little thing. Hold on. I need to double check
He has a
something.
crowbar, right?
Yeah,
Someone hand him a
a
crowbar.
crowbar would be relevant now. If anyone also had a
Yeah.
pick, that would also be pretty useful.
Hand the crowbar over.
Oh, okay, I'll
I
take
don't
it.
remember what mechanical bonus a crowbar gives you.
Is it
It does
advantage
have-
on strength checks?
I think it might be advantage to break open things, which I will give.
Okay,
Yeah.
then in that case, I'm not gonna do the thing that I was gonna do because it does the same thing. But
You're
costs
going
me
to
a spell
enhance
slot.
ability, yeah.
I
Yeah.
was.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Good
with
advantage.
Thank fuck.
It's one of the things you put the sword aside, take the crowbar, and just crunk like into rock. Because Aelnor is impossibly strong. And then just
Just like rub the wall. This is rock, right?
yeah. And you see Aelnor break rock in two. Just start, give her a lever and she will move the world. Just breaking this rock apart. And just this large slab of rock just, and actually ends up falling down the side. Because you're a little bit ways up. That's one of the things, not far enough to do a climbing check or anything. But it's like, Virik has to jump out of the way because he was watching. And it
Remind me
opens
not
up.
to piss you off.
Yeah. It opens up to one of the walls of the Ring of Haldoon. You can tell because the Ring of Haldoon had that particular stone that had that slight metallic glossiness to it, a slight glitter to the stone. And it seems to be there's almost a panel of it. Remember when you found a panel of the similar to the ring off in one of the other caves in the nearby area? It very much seems to be the outside of the ring, because you've never seen the outside, is made of panels, and it's in one of those gaps where two panels meet, where over time it's slightly eroded because there's slight water drippage through the rocks. That's where you're getting this airflow. Now you need to break into that. So another athletics, please.
Haven't given up that crowbar yet.
Oh, no, exactly.
Oh,
You got
Thank
advantage.
goodness for crowbars.
Crowbar is the fifth party member.
Wow.
You know what? Consistency.
Yeah, I respect consistency. You start working your way, and at this point, everyone else probably starts helping as well, because now you're doing something that's more understandable to someone that's not just like, there's a hole here, I will break. And you eventually, but this takes kind of 5 minutes, break open this panel enough that you can pull it aside, that you can all sidle in. What do you see? I mean, the inside of the Ring of Haldoon, when you saw it before, was very clearly redesigned by dwarves. What you see now is just these very vast interior chambers that have, crenellations inside and slight details in the walls. Can everyone give me a intelligence check real quick?
It's never wisdom. Always.
I try to sometimes switch things for wisdom with Barut, but not always.
I was about to
Oh
say,
yeah,
I
you
would also do
you
that.
use dancing
Yep.
lights inside. That makes sense. So immediately you start to see more things, which is great.
And I'm doing the usual.
So appropriate. Like,
You
How do I
already
just-
rolled.
Wait.
You rolled 11.
You rolled
How do
twice.
I just do
and
an
then you rolled a
intelligence
3.
check on the new sheet?
You just click the intelligence stat.
Oh, there it is. I was clicking on the stat and I couldn't get it.
It's when you start walking inside and Virik being able to see more in the dark actually takes the lead. Perhaps
I'm doing the usual above their heads,
but
where
light
I'm
above
looking.
their heads, but you can go a little bit further ahead because you
Yeah.
don't need it because you're a drow. You can see in the vast darkness, and there's no light in here at all. You come to the realization when you're walking around that this structure is sideways. It is on its side. You're walking on the walls are structures that are kind of like ladders, but for a very, very big creature. And
just gonna-
little
I'm
walkways
gonna do
and
that.
things that kind of look like doors, or maybe at one point were shelves and things like that. But you wouldn't think that because they're sideways. And they're so big and so designed in an alien way that you wouldn't connect those dots. But it's when you're going around, and Virik knows a thing or two about, cavernous buildings, right, being a drow, that you come to that conclusion.
Guys, do what I'm going to pull one of the dancing lights over. Do this, and look.
we all just.
Yeah, you all turn your head.
Huh. It's sideways.
Why would they build it sideways?
I don't think they built it sideways.
Oh fuck!
Why is it sideways?
Is this the gate? A big ring that was meant to be sideways.
I'm confused.
The gate stones, I thought they would just rip a hole. Maybe they go into
Shit.
a gate.
Shit. And in Elven. In Elven.
In
she's
Elven,
saying
the
shit,
Elven,
like shit,
Elven shit.
Yeah.
No, that's what we call you behind your back. No, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
So this is a door that fell over. Maybe.
Could be.
But something very large enough that it appears that it was designed for creatures to be inside the structure as well.
Yeah.
Right? It's hollow.
Big.
Yeah. Big creatures.
Oh, fuck.
What is there? These walls that we're standing on, that is the floor now. Are there any like inscriptions, murals, anything like that?
Give me
that
a
has-
perception check or investigation, whichever's better for you.
No, it's definitely perception. Don't worry.
And others can too if you want.
Never
Because
mind.
that's a sad
Apparently,
roll.
I'm bad
And
at
it's one of those things where you can tell that Barut is looking around for something. So now that you've come to that realization, you would also look around.
The dice always know when I'm in a dark place.
Yeah,
I actually roll okay.
Yeah,
it's true.
It's when you're looking around, you actually go down a bit of a side chamber there, Virik, and you see something on the wall that you don't understand, but you think that Barut might. It looks like a large symbol carved in the wall. And when you look at this room sideways, kind of looks like there's that's a desk, and that might be plans for the ring, but that's separate to this big, almost like scratch on the wall that looks like sort of 3 lines with other lines sort of scratched into them at other points. And this takes up like a 30-foot square on a wall.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
Yeah, this is huge.
Bert,
And there's
I
a
think I found
slight
something.
glow from inside the carvings.
I just have one of the dancing lights pop out of the hole. Bert.
And I'm gonna come up and look at this, and do I recognize it?
What languages do you speak?
I speak Elven, Common, Dwarven, Giant, Primordial, Infernal.
Yeah, at first you think it's primordial. But then you come to the remembrance that primordial text is draconic text. Because this means nothing in primordial. We don't speak draconic, but dragons wrote primordial with draconic script. This appears to be draconic script. And you remember reading something a long time ago about how draconic script is designed to be carved by dragon claws into things. And this is very clearly carved into stone by something very big.
So,
Oh,
remember
sorry.
when we said that
But it's
we
just
didn't
one
have
symbol. It's not enough to make like a sentence.
related incidents?
What?
Reset the timer.
Where's Vera?
Wait, so what was... Remember you said something about how the giants used to rule? Were the dragons involved in their downfall?
Yeah. Okay, Ollie.
History check.
You've told me this before, and I'm just being dumb and forgetting. But I will. Yeah.
How good of a history check depends on how much you remember and how much you think of newly.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Ages of the world, as you understand them. It's first the age of primordials, then the age of dragons, then the age of giants, then the age of the elder races, dwarves and elves, then the age of man.
Yeah.
So
potentially the
giants
other way
were
around.
after dragons.
Yeah, but dragons before
Or
Primordial.
before, or were after primordial.
So
yeah.
this might have been what they used to lock them up.
Could be. Could be any number of things. Really.
Yeah.
You
This
know?
is all
I like to
conjecture.
imagine Barut doing that and just yelling and it echoes because he's just like, done!
Look.
Too insane!
I don't know anymore. I'll write about it later.
That's a good point. Let's figure that out later. Stop the people first.
Yes. Once I know what's happening, I will write it down, and then there will be no question about it. But until then, I got no clue. I got no idea. This is a lot.
We still gotta find that stone, right?
Yeah, we might be looking for a place to put the stone rather than, but we could also be looking for a stone. So we look for both things now. It's good.
Elias is just gonna start kind of like scouting around and like checking for danger and stuff, while simultaneously muttering something to himself about dragons and fucking elementals and all this bullshit. Like,
And I am sitting down in that room and beginning a ritual.
The words, the word in the symbol, right? You don't know Draconic. You don't know if it's a letter or a word or a rune, as some races use runes as well, because it got to be complicated. But it is very much contains ancient magic that would be enchantment and illusion school magic. The root, like the carving itself does. It's not contained in anything. It's like almost enshrined within the carving.
Right. I'll relay that. Avirik, are you still hanging out by me while I'm doing this?
I would have been nearby, looking around nearby. So
Enchantment and illusion, ancient.
Door?
Can't tell you more than that.
I'm gonna look around on the wall for some sort of like trigger.
If it's a door, it's a secret, but
You can give me an investigation check.
That Taveric screams hidden door.
You don't find anything. I mean, you actually do find things. There are actually hidden compartments all over the place. To the degree that maybe if you were bigger, they wouldn't be hidden, right? But just, they kind of look like flagstones and things. It seems like a very well-designed, very compact space for something big to be in here that's very well used. But there's nothing in most of the things. When you eventually climb up onto the desk and like fiddle around with the carving, because maybe the carving itself is like a hidden door, you kind of feel like a tickle of magic when you put your hand to it, like a static shock. It doesn't really hurt, it's just kind of a shock, and there's kind of a bright prismatic magic for a couple of seconds.
Well, that was weird.
And Barut would very much see, because it's like...
yeah.
And then the whole rune, because you're very close to it, and Barut's probably very far back. The whole rune, it goes like... through it, you know?
Ripples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What'd I do?
And then it goes back to doing nothing.
Could be anything.
Who
Who knows? Who knows?
Does it happen again when I touch it again?
Less. But yeah.
Oh.
Enchantment and illusion magics. I mean, I would have thought abjuration if it was a lock.
Is it a button?
It could be a button. Based on the fact that you've already pressed it.
Putting your hand, because Viric's hand can fit inside like one of the carving holes. So
can I follow the groove along? Like
you're not tall enough.
Oh,
you are just not tall enough to go as far as it goes up. You could climb up it, and considering you've got the advantage of time, let's say you do.
Yeah, I probably would.
It never really changes, although very clearly, like every time you touch the inside of the carving, the magic ripples inside it.
Okay, I wouldn't want to use up the magic if it looks like it's getting dimmer each time.
Not so much. It's just that first time was brighter. Like, it just very much was. It's not getting dimmer each time. It doesn't look like you're at any... like, with Detect Magic, it's very much like the magic inside is not changing with him there, you know?
I got nothing. This wall is weird.
This desk. Does it have drawers?
Yeah, nothing in them.
Nothing in them. Okay.
Occasionally there's like strange sort of almost geometric shapes made out of like weird metals and things, but nothing of consequence, no sort of notes or writing or anything.
I'm gonna take they are not
big and they're too big for you to. You'd need like a separate.
I was just saying like I want to take them out and put them on the desk.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. Like I don't want to carry them with. That's dumb. Like I'm not not crazy. We already took giant gold, and that was already a huge hassle to carry around. Like, let's not be unreasonable
I'm
here.
just carrying around a bunch of plates.
Exactly. Like, we just bought like way too much dishware at Costco, and we're carrying it around. And just, you know, it was a whole thing. No, but I want to take them out onto the desk. There's no markings on these at all. They're just weird metal shapes.
They're just weird metal shapes.
Do the shapes seem recognizable in any way, shape, or form?
There's a very smooth sphere. There's a shape you've never seen before in your life, and when you look at it, it doesn't make sense. One of the sides seems to go off into nowhere and come back around. Some of them are impossible shapes.
Is it magical while I'm still detecting?
Very
magic?
faintly.
Very faintly. Faintly
but to the
magical?
same kind of way that there is a faint background magic to this place. You know?
Yeah.
That I didn't really describe because you already knew.
Yeah. Yeah, fair. Okay.
You can give me a history check if you want, Baruch.
Yeah. Maybe I'll roll better than a 2 this time. That is better than a 2?
When you're thinking about it, and you're like rolling this sphere around on the sideways desk, you've heard... So the theories about ancient dragons are very few and far between. Because dragons are a thing that not a lot of people like to talk about. Aside from adventurers, right?
Yeah.
Because just the existence of ancient, powerful things that could just destroy any civilization they want. Let's not talk about that. That's scary. Especially the ancient dragons, because there's not even any ruins to their kingdom. Giant ruins. Yeah. Ancient elven ruins. Yeah, you know. There's no ruins to the dragon. Maybe you're in one. But you do hear of, in fact, one time in the writings of someone named Christina Brightwood, on their time adventuring actually in the breach, the big break in the center of Jarviskjir, they found a dragon church for dragons, ancient dragons, and there was a marking, now that you're thinking about the way it was described, carved in the wall, that when someone with dragon blood, and they had a dragon blood person with them, touched it, they were filled with memories from someone else. And they kind of called it a dragon sign and some other words when they were describing it, but it's could be that. So you start to come to the realization that this is a message.
Yeah. It's not a button, Varric. I'm assuming at this point, like, because of the timing and everything, Varric's probably still climbing up it.
Yeah.
At this point.
At this point, just to climb.
Yeah.
Well, I'm up here.
I think it's a message. And I think you need dragon blood to read the message.
Huh.
I'm going to go up to it and I'm going to touch it. Because, you know, there's just that little hint of curiosity of, you know, somewhere down the line. Maybe Ma just...
there's a bright flash of prismatic magic that you feel a lot stronger than Varric does, whereas Varric just sort of felt...
Yeah.
You feel almost flashes of visions for a split second, you know? Just a little. Before it goes
Are
away.
we all just poking this thing now?
And I imagine you two went off to scout the ring.
Yeah.
Oh, totally.
You might have gone back because they're still doing this. Like,
Well, I
10
mean, we're
minutes
only going to
later.
scout so far before it's
Yeah,
gonna
exactly. It's been over 10 minutes, so.
Which is why literally this is Tobias in character coming back and poking this thing now. Like,
Not quite. It's a message. You have to have dragon blood to read it, I think. And I just got some flashes of images. But that's very confusing for me. But that's a problem for another day.
Maybe you should touch it.
Yeah.
Just in case.
Just in case. Hey, maybe, you know, someone in your lineage is a dragon.
I'm just going to go over and be like, look, my lineage is Northman, true and true.
I'm gonna grab Tobias's hand and
I
put
was
it
about
against
to
him. Literally grabbing his hand and putting it against
I
him.
was literally about to say the exact same thing. I even like went like that when you started talking. It was great. We both just do it.
Look, we're both grabbing either one of your hands. And just putting it-
each time each of them touches it, there is a flash, but you don't get the same thing Barut did.
Perfect.
Worth a shot.
As I said,
We believe you now. We believe you now.
And
Eleanor?
when you kind of step back, like talking about this, Virik, it's shining brighter near where Barut is. Similar to your little totem reacting to you.
Bird, it's kind of brighter where you are. Still.
Shit.
Similar to how these
Problem for
the
today.
material of these walls has little sparkles of glitter in it, you know. The light is almost sparkling from inside the
I'm actually going to
scratches.
drop the dancing lights so people can see.
you know what?
It is a very, very dim light. It is so dim that like you can barely see it. Aside from Barut.
And then I'm going to bring the lights back again. See?
I'm just gonna look to Brew and be like, I was wrong about you when we first met. You're not just a prissy, stuck-up, highborn elf. You're also part fucking lizard. And I don't know how to feel about that. But
I don't know how to feel about it either. Look, this is news to me, okay? Oh gosh. I don't even
can you breathe
Will.
fire?
Will you know what to do?
First things first. I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna use something I haven't used.
Oh. So why don't you describe this?
Okay. So very specifically, hilariously enough, these are carved dragon bones that Brewitt has.
Really?
Just
Maybe they were your dad's.
don't say
Oh,
such horrible
no.
things. But he picked them up when he was in Northendon. For all he knows, they're just garbage, not
Yeah,
dragon
exactly.
bones, right?
Right?
But like they feel
genuine
fitting,
dragon bones, guaranteed.
right?
For all
But,
your
like,
magical uses.
exactly. And Brewitt's probably like, "Pfft, yeah, whatever. But they seem cool. I'm gonna buy them. And so he essentially is he is rolling dragon bones and then kind of speaking to his god and saying essentially what is going to happen if I get this message.
When the dragon bones roll and they kind of wiggle and they seal to one side, you roll them again and they move to the same side. It is an overwhelming result of woe.
Oh, lovely.
And I'm gonna pick him up. You guys have no idea what.
Yeah,
that
that's just him like rolling things and looking at it for a bit. Who are you, knight?
Are we playing dice now?
He's doing the bones. He's throwing bones.
Yeah, exactly. You actually, as Northerners, you'd probably understand that. To
I
a
was just
degree,
about to
yeah.
say, like,
Yeah.
yeah, my grandmother used to throw the chicken bones after the dinner. And they always came up low.
Grandma
actually-
never
Honestly,
looked
I
that
wouldn't
sad.
While he's doing that ritual, I'm actually going to be going and standing in the main sort of corridor without any light. So I'm like leaving
Cool.
the light with them. I'm standing there and just keeping watch without any light whatsoever.
Okay.
So, do we still have to investigate the other side as well? This is still just the one break in the ring, right?
The other side is kind of the part you would explore. They explored in episode 1. Kinda.
Okay.
It logically would go further than what they've explored, but yes.
I will just put like a reassuring hand, like on like Barut's like shoulder, like you got this, like pat pat.
Yeah. She's not
Barut's
good
gonna-
at that.
is gonna stand up and he's gonna tuck the bones away into a small pouch that he's had on his belt the whole time, but you guys probably thought was just like a gold pouch, but it literally just has these dragon bones. They're like literally just carved down horrible mimicries of dragon bones. Like they're clearly probably fakes, but clearly probably
made
Yeah.
in Tron written on the back.
yeah, just, classic. But he just tucks them away into that pouch, and then he kind of crosses his arms and he says, seems that's all I have in life. And he walks up to the mark again and places both hands on it and actually leans his head against it as well. And waits to see what happens.
What are you doing? You just putting your head on there?
Putting my head on there.
Nothing
And-
happens more than normal.
Okay.
Actually, the longer you do it, the more you hear tiny amounts coming from it, but it's gibberish. It's nothing. It's when you... Because this is a cantrip, right? It's almost like a self-set meditation. You just have to almost trigger yourself to enter this meditative state to cast this spell.
And the thing is, I put my hands on there and I put my head on it and I'm like, don't make me actually do this. I know that I have to. But
And then
don't
when
make
you
me
do that, Barut, like you see his eyes roll back and glow white, and then he's launched across the room to the back wall. The mark on the wall shines with magic for a few seconds and then just into nothing, and the room fills with a degree of smoke. And Barut is also smoking. And that's when we're gonna come back after a couple of minutes of break.
Why did I know that was gonna happen?
Well, also because, 10 minutes over time. We'll come back in a second after a few minutes.